Hello, my heavenly tears. I don't have any tea with me because I just want to get this in here. Topic: the things we don't say. The things we don't say and how we got into this mess. Now, I'm English. You probably guessed that by now. In England, it is so strange how we have evolved our emotional culture. So we are tolerating bullies all the time. Let me explain how that's possible. So in England, if you are quiet in the way you say something, whatever it is, unreasonable, illogical, tyrannical, as long as you deliver it quietly and calmly, people just get on. They just accept it. So if they say, you must give me all your money and here's a gun, in other words, they're pointing the gun at you, which they wouldn't because it's England, we don't have guns. But I'm just taking an extreme example. That person would just hand over the money. The highwayman of old, that's how it worked. Here's a gun. There was no fighting back. My recent experience, not quite as extreme. My neighbour, I'm going to cut the hedge down. Really? That's actually something for you and me to discuss. It's you and me on both sides of the hedge. You can't just say you're going to do it. But because she said it in a quiet way, she didn't raise her voice. She just said, that's what I'm doing. And when I, having to keep my voice quiet, because that's the rules of the game here, if you don't keep your voice quiet, do you know what happens? Automatically, you're in the wrong. You've lost any ground you might have had. I didn't realize that for quite a long time until I actually lost my children because of that. That's a bit of another story, but I will get there. So that quiet bully just said, I'm taking the hedge down. And I then, after getting over the initial shock, said, why? And we had a conversation about this. You can take half of it down. It'll still grow. You can still put exactly what you want, your fence, that you wanted. And I get what I want. And of course, I got the implacable, quiet resistance, no, from her. So then, having brought forth all my possible, wonderful, cooperative arguments, and I just got the implacable, stubborn no, then I added the next layer, which is the fight back. I still had to do it quietly, otherwise I would have been automatically disqualified from this particular game. And I then said, I presented my arguments and said that what she was proposing was entirely selfish, because of course it was. And I said a hedge involves two parties. If you're just going ahead with yours without considering mine, you are very selfish. So I said that, but I said it quietly. And then I sent an email to someone who has a little more authority in this matter. So far, the hedge is still there. Now let's talk about what happens in England if you raise your voice. So we've just talked about the bully. I won't even label it hot and cold. We'll just say the bully who stays quiet will get what they want. So we could say that's a politician, a parent, a teacher, any figure who believes they have some authority over you. As long as they stay calm and quiet, they have automatically won, because in England, for some interesting reason in this temperate land that we have, we are terrified of expressive emotion. No English person knows how to handle anger, righteous indignation. Automatically that person is disturbing the peace. Automatically they're disqualified and they're wrong and they're bad and they're less. Such an easy way to control an entire population, isn't it? How did we let ourselves get there? Let's just ask Spirit how we did let ourselves get there. I command my Spirit, reveal to me clearly, with a lovely explanation, how we allowed, as an English people, how did we allow this? Quietude rules the day. Any kind of expressive emotion loses automatically. How did we allow this to come into being in this country? On the count of 5 to 0, I will have the answer flowing through me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now. The magnitude of the sound was an important thing in your land of temperance. Sound travels in certain ways through different atmosphere. You know that very well. A hot atmosphere, a warmer atmosphere, will increase the sound travel but disperse it. Colder keeps the clarity of the sound. A spreading, soft heat, a mild heat, will enable sound to spread. More people will be able to hear what is said. If you want to control somebody, you don't allow the others to hear. Think of the architecture of control in England. Castles, cold damp places mostly, stone. The stone, you would speak in small rooms, maybe large rooms, stone. Reverberation within that room, not very much escape from the room. Can you believe that spies and espionage was woven into the architecture? Indeed it was. The architecture of control, stone. When you wanted to discipline, impose upon someone, you brought them into your castle and you did it there. You didn't do it outside. You summoned them to you. No one ever talks about this. This is cultural anthropology on a very deep level in terms of emotion. Emotional intelligence is something I specialize in. I love it, because it's the underlie of how we communicate with each other. Some people say it's astrology. Oh yeah, well, of course, that can set your tone and then you have to work through it. But how we use our emotion, which is the direct communication through our body from our soul to interact with each other, that's how we create community or not. So stone castles, that was the summoning place for the control of sound. You could keep secrets, you could hold audiences, you could make sure that sound, those edicts did not escape. If you did it outside, other people would know you have less power. Why do you have less power if more people know? You have witnesses. Anything else? Yes. So high voices, female, have higher toned voices, higher pitched voices. Again, no one ever speaks about this. Higher pitch travels faster because it's a higher frequency. Look on the scale of, look on a piano. When you hit the high notes, those are very short metal notes. If you go and look inside the piano, they're very short strings of metal, very fine. You look down on the lower notes and they're big fat ones. They need much, much longer to make that sound. So when you make a high sound, it travels through the air much faster. Female voices travel faster. Now, if you do something to a woman's child, the woman, if she's present, if it's a bad thing, will shriek, plea, whatever, with her voice and whatever strength she's got in her body. That sound will travel fast through the air. People will hear. Babies have much higher pitch sounds. Children too, up to the age of 12, every child has a very high voice. Mostly it's not cultivated. All of our pop music brings it down and children think they've got a low voice, but they don't. They actually, all children, if they were allowed to practice their natural range, would have a range up beyond top C, which is a very high note for a soprano female like me to sing. On a good day, I can sing up to D, and I have a big, big range. So children easily can pop over the edge. Why? Why do children have high-pitched voices? Because when they cry, boom, that sound travels straight through very quickly to people's ears. High pitch frequency travels fast. High frequency. Now, I'm talking about the control of emotion. A female is generally more emotional than a man. She has to be able to interact with all the various whims and extraordinary developments and communications of a baby and then a child. Remember, a baby cannot speak. It has to make sounds and body movements, different kinds of cries for different kinds of discomforts, and you've got to work it out. And mostly it's the woman, thank goodness, because it's a beautiful job. And when they get tired, the men come in and help too. But it's mostly the female job to understand and discern and decipher. You have to have this very fine-tuned emotional quality to be able to work with your children. Men have a different kind of emotional quality, because if you've got to chop someone's arm off, you do not want your emotion to get in the way if that arm is about to kill your wife. So their emotional experience is different so that they can be men, so that they can do some of these horrible things that they have to sometimes do. The defense protection part of the masculine that is, of course, being worn away by our crazy culture currently. We will regain it, however. So the emotional quality in the voice is very active in a female. You do something threatening to her or her child, she is going to squawk. Yes, thank goodness. And that sound is going to travel. So if you want to control a community, a society, a nation, you've got to enable them to be afraid of their voice. I'm writing a book on and off because I'm doing a lot of stuff right now called Your Voice Heals. It's about the physical sound of your voice, sung, spoken, your inner voice, the self of you coming into the world. It's all of that package. This is part of it. So it was enabled that our voices in agitation were suppressed. The cold, quiet bully wins. Now, I had a little conversation with my neighbour, perfectly reasonable man, quite sensitive, not on my frequency, but a nice neighbour to have. And when he asked me, because he's on my side, he values me, he can feel that I'm an interesting, good human being. When he asked me how it was going with the hedge, and I said, well, I had escalated it to an email, and he was taken aback. It's like, why? Why did you want to do that? Didn't you want to keep the peace? And I was kind of fairly shocked, amazed, really. It's like, why would I just accept what the bully is doing when I have an option to go and bring someone else as an arbitrator who should be able to hear my point of view and present it? Why would I just roll over and accept something wrong and bad to me? Maybe to the hedge too. And it was amazing that his immediate response was, oh, but why did you want to do that? Disturb the peace. It's like, hang on a moment. This is not peace. This is me rolling over and accepting a bully. Now, this is important because look over in the United States of America. Look what has happened to that people, that beautiful people. As a child growing up, the Americans coming to our house were always exciting. They weren't always nice. We had a family come with 5 kids stay in our house, very wealthy. They spoiled all my toys, threw them in the bin, didn't apologise, didn't even tell me that they'd broken my favourite China tea set and my favourite doll, and just went because they were used to lots of stuff, lots of material possessions. Bring it in today, throw it away tomorrow, which is not how I was brought up. And I walked those things, so I was very upset. So I had brashness, but I had energy from America. That's how I experienced it as a child. My father liked to work there a lot, but I knew there was energy there. I always referred to the Americans as the teenagers of the world, not in a derogatory way, but in the fact that they were challenging the status quo of control. Now, as I grew up and I spent time in the States, I had a year there as a scholar, as a scholarship exchange, and I saw the absolute best. Oh my God, the beauty and the intelligence and brilliance of the humans. And then the absolute worst, cheek by jowl. And now we see a population intoxified, completely full of toxic chemicals from the food, the water, the air, the injections, the medications, so-called. Of course, we still have that amazing class of brilliant genius minds. And those are the ones I love. Most of my friends are American, because they are so alive and exciting and powerful, and they have a sense of consciousness in them. But the general population has just been turned into a bunch of Teletubbies. Now in England we've got similar, it's just that instead of all, yes, we have a lot of poisoning of bodies from things, but it's not as extreme in that way. We have more poisoning of the mind through the culture, the inculturation of our entertainment, so-called, which is incredibly low level. I couldn't watch TV even as a child. I ran away most of it from it. It was just so disgusting to me. But the English have been just bloated in their spirits from the emotional indoctrination through the television screens. We have a slightly less outdoorsy climate than the United States. And of course, then the entertainment would become much more, and the alcohol, huge amount of alcohol consumption here, easy ways to control us. Now, I was going to talk about the Americans. They, those bright, sparky ones with energy, who left the other countries and said, enough is enough. We're fed up of having our heads chopped off for disagreeing with you. We're going over here. And then there was a bit of a fight, wasn't there, with the American Indians who actually lived there. But there was a sort of a peace, and then that amazing treaty, We the People, the Constitution of the United States of America. And there was a brightness and a brilliance to that of we have power. We, as a body of humans, of humanity, and we will not tolerate that the bully wins. But of course, what happened? Yeah, well, big fat capitalism, which wasn't really capitalism. It just turned out to look like it on the surface, but it was the puppeteers in the background controlling through blackmailism. It's really what it is. And the country started to fall apart. But those wanting to put it back together again are saying it's about you, and you standing up against the bully. Now, there's not such a dire thing over there if you're a little bit loud. In fact, it's a good thing. If I am a little bit loud here, well, I'm labelled crazy, wrong, weird, brash, non-feminine, aggressive. Have I said enough? Probably. As soon as I started getting angry with my ex-husband for stealing and using my children to hurt me, manipulating them and hurting them left, right, and centre, as soon as I started getting vocally angry, I lost my case. It was amazing to see even all of my family sidling up with him, because the shame for them of a female being loud, of a female shouting, of a female standing up for her rights, standing up for her children, standing up for what was good, was so shameful to them in their indoctrination. In order for them to have heard me, they would have had to question what they were holding. A whole lot of false facades governing and holding down their own emotional expression. This is a really important podcast. I had not quite realized how important it was. Yeah. The layers of conditioning on our emotional body are so extreme. This is why it's all taking so long. What's the it? Well, this battle, the white hat revelations, the thing since 2019 and 20 with the COVID thing, the scamdemic, the, oh my God, something's going on in the world. What is it? The reason it is taking so long for us to so-called awaken, to wake up, is because the layers, oh my God, are so dense. If I am still labeled wrong, if I raise my voice more than this, for something that is just basically easy to see is wrong, I am cast out, okay? This is how deep it goes. What do we need to do? Well, we have voices in the internet, and they are accustomed to censorship. There's the YouTube censorship. Now Rumble has been partly owned by BlackRock. Who knows how much of that is now owned, and there is censorship going on in there. The AI algorithms determining what comes to the top. If enough people break through it, you can change it, like Beyond Mystic. They seem to be up there on the leaderboard, but our internet is so heavily censored, manipulated. It is extraordinary. You know, I posted a picture of a beautiful pink dolphin that was seen recently, and the fact checkers said that that was harmful and dangerous because it wasn't true. and put my posts to the bottom of the feed. This is the kind of level of insanity. But we do still have a voice if we're persistent, and if we just say, I'm going to ignore you. I could have used another word there, couldn't I? I could have just said, fuck you. Yes. If we are persistent and we keep going, persevering, that was a wonderful motto given by a dear friend of mine who died many years ago, who was very old when he died, and brilliant guy I met in the States, a Brit who went to the States. And I wonder why. But when we persevere, we kind of break through this censorship. That's our voice. In the village, in your town, everyone has a village within a town, within a city. It's just your local community. We still have these status rules of what you can or cannot do. And if I'm in a conversation with people who, let's just say, are not of my like mind, but that we're in a social gathering, I have to edit and shift and use my intelligence to decide what bits of information I can deliver and how, usually in a jocular manner, little bits of sartorial commentary, funny things, a sharp thing followed by a soft thing, carefully edited, because we're cutting through these social mores all the time. We're in a time where there is enough information. There is a lot of information out there. For in England, you have a thing called council tax. It is basically property tax. That same council that issues their bills, they're not bills, in fact, but statements. If it were a bill, you might have to pay it, but they're not, they're statements. As the same people who put their magazines out there with our money, telling the elderly to go and get injected, basically saying, we want you killed. Now, of course, you can argue your case on many different levels as to why you should not pay that money. So there's a lot of information, many different templates of why you shouldn't pay that money, property tax, okay? And that covers things like the use of hospitals, actually not the use of hospitals, but the use of the ambulances, some of the local schools money, some of the fire brigade money, some tiny bit of the road repair and signage, I said the schools, what else do we have? The rubbish collection and the recycling, from which, of course, they make money. So it covers those things. Most of those, 99% of that, I don't ever use. Now, then we have the electricity. Now, we still are told, aren't we, that we're creating it through burning coal, oil, gas, or solar power, or wind power, or possibly wave power. Most of our energy is not created that way. It's actually created by free energy underground. We're just not taught that. It's people talk about Tartaria, the old kind of free energy. We still have that stuff. We still have that important equipment. And the nuclear power plants that I didn't mention are not actually creating much energy. They're actually creating uranium for the weapons industry. But the energy is actually created in a very different way. So we have, and you say, how on earth can you say that? And I'll just say, look, I have a lot of different sources. If you want to go into it, go and have a look at Cosmic Agency over the last 5 years. And there's a lot of information there. Whether you believe they're Tegetans from Pleiades or not, doesn't matter, but there's certainly a lot of information about this. Okay, so we are given electricity bills, and the heads of these electric companies pay themselves massive bonuses and have increased the price by God knows what. We now know, unless it is an actual bill issued you, there is actually no urgency to pay it because it's all a lie. Same with our water. They issue statements. Our water supplies were sold by the government without our permission, without our consent, in the same with the electric. And it goes on and on and on. The so-called national health. No, it's the national killing machine that I don't want anything to do with. I had a car accident 3 years ago where my car rolled over twice. I just relaxed, went into a heightened state, came out with not a scratch. The only scratch I got was a rose thorn that I picked up from the road, wanting to save the car tires of other cars because it's an old rose. I picked it up and I got a prick in my thumb. That was the only scratch I had. But stupid onlookers didn't listen to me. I had my rescue remedy. I was fine. All I would do was just calm down, and I called my school to come and collect me, which was lovely, and my insurance company. But I got these onlookers calling the ambulance and the police. Completely unnecessary, waste of money, waste of resources. And the ambulance wanted to take my blood pressure and ask me about my inoculations. And I just told them quietly, none of your business. But all that money spent completely unnecessarily. It could have gone to give someone a knee scan to find out why their knee hurts, you know. So the insanity of the way our resources are used. And why am I talking about this? The way the country's run? Because we just sit there and go, yeah. But we have the ability to say no, 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 no. We can write a letter. Some people even dare to go into the courts and say, no, I'm not going to stand for you. No, you have no jurisdiction over me. And there's that wonderful story recently of someone doing that and being told to, you're going to come back here with us, was taken by the guards, had a little chat with a magistrate in their secret rooms and said, look, I'm just going to let you go because I get it. We have no jurisdiction over you. They have no jurisdiction over us. But if you get excited, if you get angry, particularly if you're a female, kind of lost. You've kind of lost. These layers of control. So we have all of these things that we're supposed to pay. We have a governmental structure making decisions where we never get to decide, where MPs don't even turn up to look at important things to vote. That's just nonsense. All of those people, almost all those people, are bribed and owned anyway. So layers and layers and layers of control, and we just sit back and go, oh yeah, that is aluminium in the skies in the chemtrail. Yeah, BBC told us that recently. And what do we need in order to waken up from this state of stupor and absurd, obsessive obedience? It is a shock, and that is why the white hats keep trying to shock us. Wakey up, break it open. The cataclysms are the only things that pull people apart enough to move their social conditioning and to start to actually experience something real expression, real fucking rage, torment, despair. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to do it like that? Now, could we? There was a song I liked as a child called I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing in Perfect Harmony. Grow apple trees and honeybees and keep them company. There are more lines to it, but I like that song. It was like, yeah, can we do this in a nice way, like through singing or something? And it sometimes, what I've been doing of late with my family, who have still sought to boss me around in their old typical way. I told a story to my brother recently, reminding him of something that happened at his wedding. So at his wedding, obviously, he had no children. He wasn't married yet. I had 3 children, and I'd come over to help him do the flowers. I love flowers, and of course I wanted to do something for my brother. And was staying in a house that was not my house, so not kitted out, on my own, young woman, 28, with a baby, a 2.5-year-old and a 5-year-old. I got no help from any of my family. I promise you, 0 help, 0 offers. And then, this was the extraordinary thing. So I didn't have a car, I just there with a pushchair. It was so phenomenal, the expectations that were piled on me, because I was always a girl who did things for the family to make peace, to enable a little bit of harmony to happen in a very harsh kind of bullying structure of hierarchy that was, when the big bully was not there at home, then the next bully was allowed to be the bully. That's how my family worked. Pop-up bullies. Never defined it like that, but that's how it was. And all of these expectations of, I did my best as a child to soothe, to at least create some kind of a flowing atmosphere rather than just pure torment. When it was too much, I just got very ill. That was my way. It's just like, I'm getting out of here. Not normally to a nicer place, actually, but so I realized that strategy wasn't going to work either. But there I was at this wedding in the preparation time, and I said, yeah, it's okay, I will do this. And I planned gathering wildflowers and making some amazing structures to put up in the marquee, beautiful decorations with hops and wildflowers, and I managed to do it with my children. But it was exhausting, and it was amazing that I was told that I was wrong, bad, complaining, loud. My children were loud. Why didn't I control them? It was so bizarre, I tell you, to a human being who has a heart and feelings. It was like, what planet do you live on? It seems to be very metallic and cold where you live in. I'm in the human world where there are 3 small beings and 1 adult to look after them, who's also trying to do her best to do something for you and look after herself in an environment that has absolutely zero support. So I told that story in a very condensed form to my brother, who was bullying me again. And he kind of went quiet, because now I won't tolerate it. We need people like me. We do. This is why I broadcast, okay? Because some of you are a little bit like me. I'm Sagittarian, so I've always been like that. If the class was mucking around, my favorite teacher would come in and say, what's going on? Is this a special treat? And I would say, yes, we're doing this because the class has decided to annoy you. I would be the speaker of the truth. I couldn't help myself. I was always the speaker of the truth, and I asked the questions in the class. Bit annoying for the teachers, but I wanted to know things. I wasn't going to just sit there with blank dead ends of knowledge. I wanted to actually know why we're studying this, what's it for, why does this do this, and why does that fit to that, and why are you teaching us this when last year you taught us something very different about the same thing, etc. So I've always been that person, and we need people like this because we've got to start an avalanche. And then I didn't have that emotional intelligence as a child. I just felt it. So I got the information through trial and error in the work I do with children, with acting. Yeah, what a brilliant place to give yourself that education in all kinds of artistic endeavors. So back to this thing. We've got to start speaking more. If something doesn't feel right, say it. Okay, say it quietly. If you feel you're starting to quaver and your emotion is starting to break through, take yourself out of that place for a while. Collect yourself. Come back. If you find you have exploded, don't beat yourself up for it. Don't do the walk of shame. Say thank you. Thank you so much, Spirit, that you came through me, that I'm human, that I have feelings, that I'm connected to my spirit, and I can feel the disparity of what they're doing to what my soul knows. Thank you. And when we stop shaming ourselves and chastising ourselves and limiting ourselves and oppressing ourselves, and we let ourselves train this discipline of being someone who can speak truth, who can protect others, whether it's a hedge or a child, we must. So all of you who are on the edge of it, yes, take this as your empowerment. Take it, use it, try it out, little bits, with that nasty little auntie who is always trying to control you, with that parent, with that neighbor, with that colleague, doesn't matter. Once I learned to survive a very nasty little boss I had at my place of work that I've just resigned from after 17 years. This was back now, about 9 years, and he had it in for me. And I just said to myself, enough, I'm not going to be bullied anymore. And I wrote to the head and said, this guy and I can't get on because of A, B, C, D, and E. That's it. I would like to be assigned someone else as my direct boss. And so they just took me out from him and I became my own boss for a while until we got a lovely new person finally to take on his job. So there was someone who wanted again to control me and limit me and in fact kick me out because he didn't like me at all. And I just said, no. And I went to the higher authority. And this is what I do these days. And if you don't have a higher human authority, you do have a higher authority. You have your spirit. You could go into yourself. Spirit, show me what I need to do right now. And you give yourself the meditation. You give yourself the peace to receive. And if you don't find the peace to do that, then what do? You go and say, okay, I'm not able to get in touch with my spirit sufficiently because I'm too upset. But I know there is something, a force which created everything. Some people call it God. Some people call it source. Some people call it prime creation. Creator. Address that energy. The power of good, the power of all creation. And say, this is what I need. And you will get it. So on that note, that's the introduction, isn't it? Of how we actually find our self-esteem again and become humans with purpose and possibility and not be slapped around by the fucking bullies. They're only scared and terrified and completely disconnected. How dare they think they have any control over us, human beings who have connection to source energy, who love, and who just want to live in a kind of joyful peace. So I am Dr. Isabel M.A. This is Activating Your Human Potential, and I'm going to be starting a new TV show. I won't tell you quite yet about it, but very soon you'll get the details. And then what we'll do is we'll put little trailers on this channel and you can hop on over. And on that new show, I will have the ability to present to you some beautiful workshops and courses you can come and participate in and work with me on such things as how to stand up to the bullies, how to find that strength. All of those things that I talk about in all of these videos, over 300 videos now. All right, goodbye, and I will see you soon, and I shall go make a cup of tea now.